Enzymes in the digestive system. Please fill in the worksheet handed out to you in a lesson as we go through this particular video. Now, the role of the enzymes in the digestive system is quite straightforward. It's to break down the large and insoluble food groups, the food molecules, which are far too big to be absorbed into the blood through the walls of the small intestine. So they're broken down into smaller and soluble, which means they can dissolve into water. So small and soluble molecules which can then be absorbed into the blood. Now, there are certain places in the digestive system where the enzymes are located, and you have different enzymes for different types of food groups, and you need to know the types of enzymes, the food groups that they act on, and what the food groups are broken down into. In other words, what are the small and soluble molecules. Now, the digestive system consists of many organs. You don't need to name or learn these organs, but I thought it would be useful for you to know whereabouts in the digestive system these enzymes are located. So as we follow the food, when it gets into the mouth, encounters the first enzyme, which are produced by the salivary glands. So inside the mouth, you get a group of enzymes, or one type of enzyme, which is called a carbohydrate. So these break down carbohydrates. One such carbohydrate is starch. Now, starch is really big and it's insoluble. And in your mouth, the digestion process of starch begins, and it's broken down into a much smaller and soluble molecule called glucose. That's why it's important to chew your food to start this digestion process off. Once you've chewed your food, you then swallow it down your esophagus and ends up in the stomach. In the stomach, the carbohydrate is denatured. It's quite acidic in the stomach, and it's not the optimum pH for these carbohydrates. But it is the optimum pH for a protease. One such protease is called pepsin. You don't need to know the name of pepsin, but it's a protease, which means it breaks down proteins, which are large and insoluble, into the much smaller and soluble amino acids. Once protein digestion has taken place inside the stomach, the contents of the stomach are then released, and it passes into the start of the small intestine. Immediately, there are some enzymes released from an organ called the pancreas. Now, this time, the pancreas secretes carbohydrates, it secretes proteases, and then it secretes a third type of enzyme, which is known as a lipase. And this breaks down fats into fatty acids and glycerol. So fats are quite large and insoluble. The fatty acids and glycerol are the smaller soluble subunits that fats are made up of. As the food passes through the small intestine, or continues to pass through, enzymes are still produced by the small intestine itself. And we still get the production of carbohydrates, proteases and lipases. So we still get the breakdown of fats, proteins and carbohydrates. Small intestine is also responsible for absorbing these small and soluble molecules. The food will then continue to pass past the appendix into the large intestine, where water is absorbed, and then finally you get your feces, which will be stored in the rectum until you're ready to expel your feces through your anus.